When I was 6 years old, I failed grade 1. I was what some might call a spirited child. Curious, chatty, and with the kind of energy that made teachers twitch. I also struggled with literacy and focus, and eventually was pulled out of the classroom and into a closet-sized room for special education support. They even tested my hearing, thinking maybe I wasn't catching instructions. Thankfully, the audiologist told my parents that if I could hear any better, I'd be able to hear grass grow. The grown-ups called it selective hearing. I called it being 7. I became determined to prove everyone wrong, to be seen for what I could do, not what I couldn't. Fast forward to middle school. I enter a school district-wide art competition and won. The prize? Being mayor of Abbotsford for a day. I spent a day with Mayor Ferguson, complete with a working lunch at McDonald's. It was everything I dreamed of. The sash, the ceremony, the chicken nuggets. It was a real peak moment. Sometimes I still wonder if I peaked too soon. But the truth is, that experience lit a fire in me. I realized I didn't just want to be in the room. I wanted to shape the room. I would create events where people could connect, belong, and feel seen. That day, I believed I'd found my life purpose. I had it all figured out. One calling, one path. I began volunteering at the local youth commission, hosting community events, and transforming empty rooms into spaces where youth could gather. I even studied it in post-secondary. I became a curator of experiences, a master facilitator of human connection. But as I would eventually learn, purpose doesn't always follow a straight line. And it definitely doesn't always peak in middle school. There's a common belief that we each have one true calling, a singular purpose we are supposed to find, follow, and fulfill, like a lighthouse anchored in certainty, providing a fixed path to follow. But life has a way of testing your beliefs, of undoing everything you thought you knew. My first experience with motherhood wasn't what I expected. The nursery was ready. Tiny socks were folded in drawers. A map hung on the wall, waiting to be filled with adventure. Then, 1 week past his due date, we were met with silence. No cry, no heartbeat. The nursery remained dark. When I lost my son, the life I had so clearly imagined vanished. I didn't know who I was anymore. Was I still a mother? Could I return to work at the Hospice Society, surrounded by grief, when I could barely breathe through my own? Everything I believed about my identity, my purpose, suddenly felt like a stranger. In time, I began to let go of who I thought I was supposed to be and started asking, who am I now? There were more questions than clarity, but instead of rushing towards answers, I gave space to my uncertainty, and I learned how to show myself grace as I searched for a new direction. The lighthouse I once relied on to guide me had gone dark. So I followed small sparks, like staying late at hospice to mentor volunteers and organizing a charity toy drive. I leaned into what aligned with my strengths and values. I sought counseling, reflected deeply, and gradually grew more willing to follow where curiosity led. None of it felt like purpose, until slowly it did. Those tiny steps curiosity, service, connection became the path I couldn't yet see. It was as if, instead of a lighthouse guiding me to where I no longer belonged, I found a lantern. One that didn't light the whole path, but enough to show me where I needed to be. And after following a few different sparks of curiosity, I'm leading a nonprofit called Baby Go Round, where we support vulnerable families by providing everything they need to safely and confidently care for their babies. Each spring, Baby Go Round invites a few families who received services the prior year to return for a photo shoot. Their stories help show the impact of our work. In 2024, the first family arrived carrying their child. But I noticed they were also carrying something else. A small, white, heart-shaped box. I could tell it meant a lot to them. And my heart clenched as I realized what that box might be and what was inside of it. Approaching them, I gently asked about its significance. They smiled softly and shared that it was their firstborn's ashes, and they wanted him in the photos too. Suddenly, the room felt still, and I felt the ache in my chest echo the mom's, not as a leader or a service provider, but as a mother who had also said goodbye too soon. In my heart, I knew I was exactly where I needed to be, walking alongside others at the beginning of their parenthood journey. My pain didn't end my purpose, it transformed it. Our lives change. The people in them change. The world around us changes. So why wouldn't our purpose change too? In my work, I've heard hundreds of life stories, and I've noticed something. When people meet internal change with self-compassion instead of resistance, they restore a sense of inner peace. I've seen doctors walk away from medicine, educators move beyond the classroom, and first responders break from the front lines. Shifts that, when done without shame, brought freedom and possibility. Many studies even point to a relationship between psychological flexibility, which is our ability to shift, recenter, and realign with our values, and greater well-being. Life purpose doesn't have to stay fixed. It can evolve, shaped by who you become and what the world asks of you. Sometimes, I look at photos of 14-year-old me sitting at the mayor's desk, and I ask myself, would she be proud of who I've become? And that spirited 6-year-old who failed grade 1, she's still here, just with nicer shoes. But now I'm raising a beautifully neurodivergent daughter, and have written a children's book to help more kids feel seen, not broken. So when your purpose feels distant or unclear, give yourself permission to realign with who you've become. And instead of viewing your purpose as a lighthouse you search for, consider it a lantern you carry with you, lighting just enough to guide your next step, wherever it may lead. Thank you.